Ah. Hi, Kate.
Hi, Kate.
Hi, Kate.
Hi.
All right, I think we're going to start. I was able. I mean, the nice thing about this meeting is my wife has to finish blowing the weeds while I'm on the phone. Okay.
Oh, we got to talk to her.
Yeah. No, I just made that up, but
Yeah, I'm sure.
I know. Okay, well, welcome everybody to our meeting on November 22nd, 2022, 12:30 p.m. And we'll do a roll call to make certain we have a quorum. Kate Ryan.
Hi.
And Liz Cobbs. Nancy Crowley.
Hi.
And Bill Maracci.
Hi.
Hi. So we've got a quorum. And we're going to go to the first order of business. Now, I was just informed within the last half hour that we have the opportunity to postpone our report to the 5th of December because the select board notified Amy, or Amy got notified by Terry, I'm not sure, that they have a very, very full agenda on the 28th. And that we could still probably get fit in, but it would be much later at an undetermined time on the 28th versus getting a better time or an earlier time on December 5th. So we as a board obviously have to determine, would we prefer to defer to the postpone to the 5th of December or not? So I don't know if we have to make that decision right at this very moment, unless anyone has got a contribution, any comment. Yes.
Yeah, my only thought is December 6th is that placeholder that we should have for putting an article in for the warrant. And if we can agree that we will have that ready and proposed, I really think it would be it would put everything out of whack if we didn't indicate that we wanted to put in an article to understand changes to the bylaws or whatever it is, because, you know, Kate, I remember you saying this at our last meeting, that if we're out of compliance on something, that's where we really need to focus. And I think that, you know, the town meeting being once a year. So if we're going to delay it, we have to delay it with the knowledge that we're going to go there with a draft already of that article placeholder that should be ready and agreed to by them then that night. And they should be aware that they need to do that.
Well, I think let's just clarify what you said so that we're all on the same. I don't think we have to on the 5th of December present anything to them about what our specific intentions are for the personnel bylaw change. I thought, and I may be wrong, but I thought all we had to do was to indicate at some point in time, and maybe it's on or before the 6th, that we have intentions to present something. We don't have to be specific. I don't know, I'm going to call on Amy if she can give us a little, her input is, do we have to have something specific on the 5th of December with the bylaw?
No. Kelly, can you mute your speaker? Sorry. Do you know how to do it?
I like the tunnel.
Sorry. Okay, so that is the requested date for draft warrant articles. It's not a requirement. It does lead into a preview meeting where boards and committees get to talk about things they're thinking about submitting for the warrant. And so the actual warrant deadline is that first week of January. Certainly you want to have public discussions and be working on the warrant articles in the month of December. And we can, you've got a meeting next Wednesday, a regular meeting where we have several things that we're kind of lined up for. That one is just an update from Joellen Kadamatori from GovHR. Then the appeal, you need to continue on the appeal. And at that time, we also were looking to at least give you some staff recommendations and regarding warrant article language. So I think you'll be able to do that as long as you stay on the meeting schedule that you have coming up. Does that?
Let's just, Liz, does that in any way clarify?
So, sorry, I'm on mute mostly because I'm still trying to get our minutes done for this meeting and typing them. But so I guess then what I'd like confirmed, and maybe with Terry there, if we do delay to December 5th, and putting in a placeholder for an article that would go into the warrant, I'm trying to learn all the language, that due on December 6th, it seems to me, so the question is, if we were to bring it as part of our presentation to the select board on December 5th, that would give them a heads up that it was going to go in as an article for town meeting next year. But I guess, Amy, if I'm understanding you correctly, what you're saying is it's not necessary for the select board to say, yes, you're allowed to put in the article placeholder. And so therefore, it's not necessary to tell them. But if we're there and they're the town governance committee, it seems to me we would want to flag that to them, given that it's the night before. Terry, do you have any comments on that?
Yes, you can mention it, but I don't have the calendar in front of me right now, but Amy, you do. For December 6th, is that the exact deadline when the warrant articles are due?
That's for the draft. That's what
Draft.
drafts are requested. Yeah.
Okay, so that's just to give an idea that things are coming. So you could give Liz a very brief heads up to the select board that you're putting in an article on changing section XYZ of the bylaw. And that's it. You don't even have to know much more than that on the 5th.
And actually, I pulled up the calendar while we were talking. So I've got that the draft warrant articles are due on the 16th of December.
Yeah, that's what I heard this morning, the 16th.
Okay. And
And
so
then
the
final is January something, right?
Warrant, it says the warrant closes on the 4th, so I assume it has to be final at that point. Is that right?
Yeah.
So my question is, who drafts this warrant article? And will council be involved at all to ensure that it is, you know?
Absolutely. Council reviews every single article. So you guys and Amy can do like a first draft. If you need more help, let us know. The council reviews all of them. That's why the date is so early, January 4th. So council can review and the select board can review and FinCom and everybody else.
But it means that we have to have a draft written and submitted by the 16th of December. Am I writing that? Am I reading that correctly? To give council and everyone to review it time before the warrant closes?
My understanding has been that's not a hard deadline. That is a requested deadline. You know, that's when they're trying to encourage people to get them in. And there are some types of topics that really that's not possible. And that's always been understood. I do think there's some opportunities, you know, the staff here, well, we've already been working on some. We certainly can go through that with you and draft them. We're going to need to talk about the strategy for the class and comp plan too, and how to reserve space on the warrant for that, given the status of where the study is. But it means a lot happens in December, but I do think that you still have time. The other thing, the date that I think isn't on that calendar, but maybe Terry, you know, when is the town meeting preview meeting? That's usually on a Saturday.
Yeah, it's on a Saturday, isn't it on that calendar?
Well, I was actually looking at one that I had put together for the personnel board. So, let me see where the town meeting calendar is.
But, Catherine, to answer your question, do you go by Catherine or Kate?
Kate, I go by Kate.
Okay, Kate, to answer your question, I think Amy gave a good example with the classification plan. So by the 16th of December, you know there's going to be an article on the classification plan. That's really all you have to know. You might not know yet what the numbers are, who's in which grade and all that. But you have to know all of that by January 4th, and have a really good draft then.
Okay. It's just, I'm looking at that bylaw and it's pretty, there's a lot there. And I'm concerned that that's a really short turnaround. I'm not saying that it can't be done. I'm just concerned that we could meet that deadline.
Well, I think you're only talking about possibly doing a few small things to the bylaw, not changing the entire thing by
Okay,
then.
all right.
Right, I think that's important, and thank you, Terry, for pointing that out. This is not going to be a full-fledged personnel bylaw modification. You're right, Kate, we don't have enough time to do that, but we do have time to incorporate the work by HR Gov, and we also have time to incorporate the miscellaneous things, miscellaneous items that the HR organization and the town management says, needs to be updated. So I think this is really doable, as long as we keep a narrower frame of, we're not going to tackle the whole personnel bylaw. Okay, thank you, Terry. Thank you, Kate. Liz, are you more comfortable with how this conversation and dates are going?
Yeah, yes, and it sounds like we're all in for addressing what we can by this next year's town meeting, which is really the goal I wanted us to keep in mind. So it sounds like we're all on the same page there. So terrific.
Well, I think the only thing I'll interject is, I don't know what, the expectation on the part of citizens and other people, we may not be all in concert. And therefore, I want us to be clear that we are only looking at the bylaw as respectful to the wage, the work by HR Gov, and a few miscellaneous changes that would need to be done under any circumstances. So I don't want us to think, though, that there aren't going to be some people that won't be disappointed, but that's, be as it may, we're going to fulfill our requirement, and we're going to, as a body, I think, defer a major look at the personnel bylaw until a much more realistic timeframe is available for us. We will definitely tackle that, no doubt about it. Okay, Liz, are we still okay? Still all right? We're doing okay? All right.
Yep. Yep.
So I think maybe what we should do right now is agree if we want to accept the opportunity from the select board to postpone our feedback to the 5th of December, as opposed to the 28th. Are we in agreement with entertaining a motion for that or not?
Can I ask when, I mean, I know it's hard to tell when we'd fall in the, agenda item. It's just there, for my work, we also have a select board meeting that night and I may need to attend, but
Yeah.
it probably won't be late until like around 10. So if it's earlier, I can definitely do it.
Terry, please.
So the chairman, Matt Johnson, told me today that we got unexpectedly really crowded for the 28th because the assessors they moved their meeting and the special town meeting hearing, and that you really would be thrilled if you guys can move to December 5th. And so we're going to offer you guys pretty much any time that you want. If you want to be on first around 6:45, we could probably make that happen, or 7:30, or if you want a specific time on the 5th, I think Matt would be so happy to get out of our jam on the 28th, that we can accommodate you.
Okay. Can we add maybe VIP parking as a part of the,
Sure, why not? Go for it.
okay, so thank you, Terry. That was very helpful, I think, to sort of position this whole topic. So we're
And,
back
and let
to,
us know if you do, if, if Kate's saying, if you guys need to be on early or even a specific time, we'll do our best.
well, I think technically we do not, well, correct me if I'm wrong, we don't have to have a quorum
Correct.
there.
That's correct.
Okay, so that's not the issue. The issue is people who are on the board who would like to be there, having the ability to be there at a time frame that makes sense. So I agree with that, and we would work hard to ensure that that would take place. Okay, so are we going to again? I'm back to entertaining a motion to postpone our meeting with the select board until the 5th of December.
So moved.
All right, thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, so all in favor. We're going to start Nancy,
Aye.
Liz Cobbs,
Aye.
Kate Ryan,
Aye.
and Bill Marachek, aye. Okay, so at this point, Terry, you
Thank
can
you.
inform Matt that we are all on board for the 5th.
Thank you very much.
Well, good. Thank you for clarifying. Okay, so we are still 15 minutes. Now, I'd like to start the process of having a final version
Yeah.
after input from Kate. And a comment from Nancy and Liz's work. There are some suggestions. So if we're going to entertain any wordsmithing, I think that the wordsmithing is probably more geared towards Kate's input, and yet the concept is more clearly directed at the time I've spent with Amy. It's a different concept, but it's still basic points, basic elements. So I hope I'm not blithering here, but what are your thoughts in terms of how we go about tackling the fact we have input from Kate, and which is wordsmithing, and then we've got the input essentially from the town HR as to the concept.
Well, if I could start, I actually really love the way that this was sort of reworded to make it focus on sort of challenges rather than deficiencies and things that we can address. I guess my biggest, I just want to point out that of I think there's 17 items on here now, which things to be addressed, subjects to be addressed. Of those, 13 are listed as high priority, and so I guess I'm concerned that that's too much to focus on right out of the gate, and maybe we need to pair, some of those need to be shifted to either medium or low. I'm just concerned that it's not feasible to sort of focus on so much all at once.
Okay, I think that's a very valid point. Other comments?
I thought it was very, very well done. I will say that I do hear what Kate's saying. I kind of thought some of them, like information packets and monthly reports and joint meetings, I thought some of those were easy to to kind of get together, so they wouldn't be a high priority that would take long. And I felt like some of the others basically the high was being picked up by the HR Gov. But I do believe, of course, the HR Gov is probably a huge amount of work. So, and I know that's high and that's going to take a while. So I guess I thought that some of them that were high would be kind of taken with some of the other highs, and they wouldn't be done separately. You know what I mean? We'd be picking them up as we went along.
Well, right. Yep.
Could we put this up on a share screen?
Yeah, I was
I
just.
have
gonna
it
ask
up.
you.
Because I found some of I'm not, I understand, Bill, what you're saying, that there's different, but I didn't pick up on who wrote what, and I found some of the changes a little bit confusing, so I'd like to,
Okay, so the first part are ones prepared by Kate there, which is wordsmithing of
okay.
the document that you prepared.
Oops, where'd it go? Hmm. Having a little bit of network trouble.
Do you want me to share it?
Yeah,
All right, why don't I share? Today I'm not having trouble with internet, so let's see.
well, can I
Um,
just make a comment on the high and all that? The two that, well, I noted that the category of high, the definition says that it's targeted to be completed within 6 months. And yes, I think a lot of those could be, but two that stood out is maybe they won't be 100% complete, depending on what you choose to do with them, might be elements of the whole study by GovHR and elements of personnel policy type things, so.
So if we have this extra time, given the comments that just stated, that maybe the thing to do is to nuance what high means, like how much time, or is it,
Yeah.
Collaborative, does it fit under GovHR? And so we have more of an understanding of those highs, because if you just think high and you think, oh my goodness, we have to do it all at once, but it's actually distributed work, then it might make it, feel a little bit calmer. I thought the changes, Kate, that you made seemed fine in that. So in that second paragraph there, PS every person is a resource, sure. Meaningful role for the personnel board. There was one statement in this first that I was a little confused by. The final report is a first step towards reshaping the work of the personnel board to better serve these in their work. Sorry, working environment that will enhance employee recruitment and retention efforts. Okay, that sounds fine. I think maybe it was a little bit further. I guess I have I'm moving it. So if anyone else wants to jump in, just say stop where you are. So this one, the work plan details using the PSTF's report, the personnel has identified 4 major areas for the select board to concentrate their efforts. And so that's saying where the personnel board should concentrate. Could we just clarify that it's the select board's responsibility versus the personnel board? Because that's the change you're making, Kate. That's quite a
Yeah,
significant
I
change.
guess I wasn't entirely sure, because I think at the beginning, there's a piece where we're trying, in the first version, that talks about who has responsibility for what. And so, I mean, it could be select board, personnel board, and town government. Like, I just felt like it shouldn't be solely the personnel board that concentrates. So
maybe we should say town government concentrates, and then put in paren select board, personnel board, HR department, town manager, list them again.
yeah, that's fine.
Sure.
Yep.
Okay. I've got the rights here, but this is a version that I don't have rights in. So
Right.
I'm
That's correct.
showing,
That's a PDF. Now I can bring up
Yeah.
the word, or I could send you the edits later, however you want to do it.
if you can capture them, Amy, that would be great. All right, and yeah, because I mean, this is different than notes of the meeting. This is really specific to the document.
Right.
And so in the
Yeah.
notes of the meeting, I'll say, look at the summary of the changes back and forth. But that sounds like a reasonable one, right?
Yeah.
And Kate, thanks for flagging, because it doesn't all sit on the personnel board.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
important to note. Okay.
I'm just going to interject. We got 2 things here. Number one is we've got about 5 or 6 minutes if we're going to stick with the half an hour. number two is, it is possible to take the highs and cut them into, or do 2 levels. So that, we don't have to, that's another approach. It's another approach to take the highs, and then you've got level 1 and level 2, or A and B, whatever.
Yeah.
And we can keep the highs because by virtue of the basic definition, and then we can just say we're gonna turn those into level 1 and level 2.
So I think that sounds right, Bill. And Amy, I think you said we have a meeting next Wednesday, correct?
You do, you have a very packed agenda, so one of the things to talk about is how long you think you can go, but yes.
Yeah. So and the reason I say that is if we are only spending a half hour here, then I have an hour set aside. So if we wanted to see if everybody can do that, that's fine. But if we can't, I got confused as we went through the rest of this, and like areas of focus shows up here, but it's area of focus 2, governance. Where did the communications piece go? And I don't understand quite where.
Okay, so this document is meant to show all the suggestions. That's the aggregated.
Oh, it's not a
comments that
full
were
doc.
received. It's
All right.
not the full thing. These are things to consider to give you focused on what might change in the full doc. Separately, then we have the Word doc that incorporates it all. But this was just to help you focus in this meeting on what the recommended changes were.
I see. Okay, thanks
Okay.
for that clarification.
All right.
So I wonder if the following makes some sense, is that that the personnel board indicates that a final version will be worked out. Can't think of a better word. Will be generated, prepared by the chair and another person, and that we take the opportunity to keep working on this past the half an hour, but it's sort of delegated to a couple individuals to essentially fine tune this document. Is there any, just in concept, anybody disagree with that, doing that? Otherwise, we are not going to be able to, we're going to have another meeting in order to have everybody participate in looking at the rest of this document. And I'm not sure, I don't know if that's a really beneficial utilization of time, but that's just me. So any thoughts on whether or not the board could designate 2 individuals to fine tune this? I mean, the chair, obviously, and one other individual. Does anybody like that, not like that?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. Honestly, I think we're almost here. My changes were not, I don't think they were substantive. I would be happy to work on that, but I'm also happy to defer to someone else if you wanted to sort of someone else wanted to take that on. So.
I'm also happy. I mean, after this week, I have time to work on it. And Kate, I think you're working full time, so
Yeah.
I'm not. So I can certainly work with you, Bill, if that is helpful for others. I thought the one substantive change, Kate, was that who's it responsible? And I thought that was a good point.
Yeah.
And we've covered it. So I think we can get there. I'm really confused by this change to these things here. So that's something, if we could address that. Yeah, I didn't understand the changes here. And now I guess, Amy, what you were doing was, these are not to be separated from these areas of focus statements. Those are just the changes that you wanted to highlight.
Right. Would you
Okay.
like me to try to pull up on screen a version that puts all this together?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, I would.
I was
Yes.
trying to help you focus on the discussion, or as I say, aggregated without, anyway, I'll just get into, let me, hold on one moment.
Pardon me, I just wanted to sort of be a time check. If there's anyone who can't make it past the first 30 minutes, I think probably need to identify that now and decide if we're gonna continue on for the next half an hour or not.
Okay, that's a good suggestion. What is
I'm
your
good.
availability, Kate?
Yeah, I'm good. I can do another half hour.
Okay. Anyone else? Nancy, Liz?
I'm
Okay?
good. I'm good. Yeah.
Okay. That'll save me from going out and blowing leaves. Okay, so,
All right, so do you
we're
want me
gonna
to
keep
walk
going.
you through what this is?
yes,
Yeah.
Okay, so in this, I took the comments that Kate had about the narrative, and those are here in red. The only thing, these in yellow were just my suggestion, that we had the word study in those two places. It puts it in the same format that Liz had. There's no changes here. Again, this is all what Kate had. And then it would go into area of focus 1. And what I was suggesting is that perhaps instead of having the elements to the left and trying to assign them, it might be better to start with them. And I put a label on them of stakeholder elements. In each section, you'll see that I started to try to say what are the different types of elements. But I thought these were all the things that would come into play and that the board should take into consideration as they address each of these subjects. So it was a way to lay it out. I don't, the format of it was just a thought of just making it not directly tied to anyone. Then previously, the section said identified, I'm sorry, what were they called?
Deficiencies. Deficiency.
Yes, that was the word. I knew the deficiencies. And the suggestion here is to reframe it to say subjects to be addressed. And there were a number of words, adjectives, things like that, that had been pulled together about saying that something wasn't done or was inadequate, that sort of thing. But again, the board hasn't determined that, and there are some questions about that along the way. And so the thought that Kelly and I had was that it might be helpful to just reword these, trying to preserve what the topic was, so that they just really focus on, what is it that you need to consider? You need to consider the availability of the personnel board information packets or the reports, and get into a discussion, look at what the personnel study task force recommended, and then get your own action plan. I numbered them just because I thought, yeah.
let me just interject, because the deficiency, that word, it was my word. That was what I could, after 12 mezcals, it's the only word I could think of. And therefore that was what I used. But I think this is a much better, more positive tone.
I agree.
And the word deficiency is a negative tone. And I think we need to continually make certain that the words we choose are ones that are consistent with the personnel board's positive nature of moving things forward. So anyway, that's where deficiency came from. Amy, go ahead with your.
Okay. And there were also some statements in there that, again, were conclusions that go back to what the personnel board's role might be, that the task force had included, but that really is yet to be determined by the select board on what the role of the personnel board will be going forward. So I, think that what Kelly and I were looking at from that perspective too, in the wording there. Again, these track changes were Kate's. So in the next section on governance, I suggested that these elements are really about authority documents, and put those up top to keep an eye on those. This one, the subjects to be addressed, this one you did not have in your chart, and I am suggesting that you add something that's really focused on the role. One of the highest priorities that I've heard people talking about is identifying, updating the charge, which ultimately is for the select board to do, but the select board has asked the personnel board to make recommendations. the task force also made recommendations. And it's very hard, in my view, to know how to proceed with a number of these other items until we know whether that is the role of the personnel board. Some of the suggestions aren't necessarily consistent with the bylaw as it exists, or that sort of thing. So that's, oh, here I just highlighted and posting of meeting minutes because meeting minutes weren't referenced here. So I thought that was just a note on how to incorporate that. Area focus on human resources. Again, Kate's comments. Here I called them systems elements, policies, the benefits, compensation. Don't know if that's the right word. Subjects to be addressed are listed. Here I typed in the question of medium, like whether that's a combination. That gets to the conversation that we had earlier, whether it's possible to get all of the policy updates done. Some of it depends on the structure of the bylaw. So I thought that might be an area that the board wanted to think a little bit further on. And then employee relations. Here I inserted the word engagement as the types of elements. And this highlight here is, I wasn't sure what it meant necessarily. So I was interested in hearing more about the thought behind that. I missed that in the previous discussion.
So that in the previous discussion, what that point was, that they were inconsistently applied, that not all managers were using year-end performance in the, the consistency and quality weren't clear. And so I think I put that one in. I usually say note when I'm adding something. So, but
Yeah,
that wasn't normalized. So there was a comment, if we look back at the minutes or the YouTube thing, but there was a comment where it was in the deficiencies in that version of our document, right? That the year-end performance review, and then there was a comment, I can't remember who said it, was not everybody's not using them. And so I put the word normalized in there and then, you know, as methods, timelines, and quality in the higher bullet.
and is when you say at this time of year, are you referring to
Year-end feedback is,
at right?
so it says year-end performance feedback can be normalized at this time of year. It's, guess what, at the end of the year. That's all I meant by that.
Okay, so I'm gonna say our review process works on the fiscal year and it goes through June 30. So that's why I was trying to clarify what it meant.
So bonuses and so forth, pay increases and so forth are June to June.
July 1 to June 30.
Okay.
I think they happen on July 1 usually. The system has evolved.
So then
in the last
we
few
could take
years.
out feedback can be normalized or should be normalized, and then not say at this time of year. I mean, you just have to change the ending.
Yeah.
Not the beginning. I liked the beginning. I'll fight for the beginning. But
So,
yeah, and just take off at this time of year, Amy. That the feedback can be normalized, I think has to be, that's the point.
Sorry, my
It's just that,
I
yeah,
understand.
okay.
Could I recommend that instead of normalized, maybe make it consistent? Because isn't that that's the goal, is that it is consistently done every year?
Yeah, that's fine. Consistently
just-
applied or something. I mean, there's, yeah,
Maybe it
should
should
or
be.
can be consistently utilized, applied. What do you want to say?
Or should be consistently completed? I don't know.
Do we really
Completed.
need that?
There we go.
Do we need
That's,
that line?
Yeah, I'm not sure we need it because the top line there basically says that in a different way.
Right. That's my point too.
well, the point
or
in our dialogue at last meeting was that they're inconsistently applied.
Right, but you could say that top sentence, employee performance feedback methods, timelines, and quality are consistently applied, or something like that, and you
Okay.
can do away with that bottom sentence.
Okay, so should be consistently applied maybe, because just take it from the end of the last,
Sure.
yeah.
Okay, the way the statements are, they're things that you would, they were suggested to be things that you'll look into more and have tasks and make determinations and recommendations.
Yep.
on.
Yeah.
So-
So
So
Nancy,
I
you
just
got a point?
Yeah, I just want to ask you a question. I guess I must have missed something. So when someone is, so they don't go reviews on their date of hire on a yearly basis, and everybody is done at the,
So it's a combination of methods. And again, I started to say it's evolved a bit through the budget constraints with the pandemic. And so that's one of the things that needs to be addressed is what's the salary increase plan going to be for the next fiscal year? Because those are adopted annually. And we do have a performance evaluation process that does have some different dates for different employees. And I think that there's some interest in some new tools for evaluation. So I think looking at, again, you know, the board considering the methods, the timelines and quality and consistency would all be great in developing where we go from here.
Where
I-
will those suggestions come from, Amy? GovHR?
They can be a combination. GovHR does have some tools related to performance, and it might be you know, and staff can do some of that, and we're happy to also get ideas from the personnel board, you know, whether you as a board or a subcommittee want to work on looking at different methods, that sort of thing. Those are all possible ideas. And so I would think by you listing it as a subject to be addressed, one of the things you talked about is for each of these is that you'll then need to figure out what are the tasks involved or what are the things that you consider. And so that might be one of the discussions you have going forward. It's how are we going to look at this? What did the task force recommend? Is it specific? Do you agree? Do you have other things? Is there work? You know, how are we going to get through this work?
Okay. I think we may be back. Is there any other thing that you've got following? What's page 5 of 5, Amy? Okay.
Just that.
All right, so I think we're back at the point, and I would suggest under the circumstances that if since Liz has volunteered, Kate, you did too, and I didn't even ask Nancy, so I certainly want to apologize if she's interested.
no, that's okay. I'm
But I think-
fine. I'm fine with whomever.
Okay.
It's great.
I think under the circumstances, you know, I would have Liz as a co-worker on this. She's the one who actually created the first revision, and I think what we're doing here is we're fine-tuning and we're making it better. So I appreciate everybody's input. I appreciate everybody willing to be engaged in something which is important to all of us. And what's great about a team that we've put together so far, and we will continue, I'm sure, is that, you know, everybody is looking at the overall good and willing to contribute, as opposed to people feeling that, you know, their thoughts are more important than somebody else. So anyway, I appreciate that attitude, and I think it's a very healthy one for us to continue. Okay, so I need a motion, I guess, in order to have Liz and I be designated as the two individuals to complete this document.
I would like to say that I thought that between you initially and then Liz and Amy going back over it with Kate input, I think it really, personally, I think it looks very, very good. So hopefully you wouldn't have to do too much adjusting to it. But I certainly will make a motion that both you and Liz will review this. Is that what you want? Review
yeah.
this draft
To create a
and get
final.
back to us? Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
And is there a second?
Second,
Okay, we have a motion, a second, all in favor. Nancy,
Aye.
see Liz's hand is up, Kate and
Aye.
Bill. So we have unanimously passed that. And the minutes will so reflect, and I will work with Liz in order to find some time. So just for my own benefit here,
And
what
Kelly,
is,
are you
what,
trying to-
oh, I'm sorry, Kelly.
Oh, it was a clapping hand. I'm sorry. I thought it popped over. I thought it was
Oh,
raised.
that's
hand.
a-
I'm sorry.
Okay, I thought she
No,
was.
no, I just, if I may, through the chair, I just had a quick suggestion if the board wanted to entertain that.
Okay,
Notwithstanding the results of the prior vote. What I was curious about is the priority code. And my thought was whether or not, first of all, what does high, medium, and low mean if we're not talking about the project schedule? When I first looked at this, I thought, could we have a priority column that says, is this high, medium, or low priority? And then maybe another column that says schedule or timing, where you would say, okay, within 6 months or a year or 2 years. One example is, making or suggesting amendments to the personnel bylaw. I think that's very important. Are we going to do them all this year? It's very important. But no, I think that the message that the task report said was, this is very important, but there are other things that need to happen in order for us to maybe, reduce or to fully amend the personnel bylaw. And they suggested that we don't look at that for 2 years. So the question or the suggestion would be whether or not this group felt that it would be helpful to add just another column as a way to describe so you'd have a priority column.
Yeah.
And define what that means. And then another column that just says, target or schedule. And then you can sort of separate those two concepts. And that to me was a way, it made me think, okay, well, what exactly does a high priority mean, or a medium priority or low mean? And maybe that gives us the opportunity to define what those things mean before we go to the select board or anyone else and explain what those are. So that was my suggestion, and have at it, do what you will with that, but just
Yeah,
want to pass that along.
Kelly, I actually had the same thought in walking through some of these, like what does high mean? And some of these, like they're already in process, like the GovHR, classification system review, those comp and class review. So those are kind of low hanging fruit. They're high priority, but they're already in process. And so I agree. I think that we can make something high priority, but then also map out what that looks like in terms of a time frame. I think that's a great idea.
all right, what I think, let's see comments from Liz or Nancy on that particular point of essentially having a priority code and a timeline code.
I don't have any issue with it either way. I think it's fine I know when we talked about high, we knew that we had to 6 months or so, and the other, there was months there, but if we could tone it and make it a little bit clearer, that would be fine too. you
Okay.
know?
Liz, any of your thoughts here?
Yeah, last discussion, we talked about keeping this high level for the select board. So if we had I don't think that every single one of these needs that kind of clarification. So it seems like a bit of busy work there, but if we could put a notes column or a comments section where we could say, this is covered by GovHR and this is the deadline and so forth, and we could call out those things. But I do think, yeah, otherwise, we already did talk about, making more specifics around the priority section. But I think high priority and timeline should be aligned too. And just, yeah, so I would prefer to have, if we have to have a commentary section, then do that and then say, this is covered by this. This is when we expect this to be done, but the priorities would
Okay,
not have to be nuanced for each and every single one, just for the ones that need it.
Terry, you have your hand?
Okay, thank you. I have a few comments. First of all, I think the work you're doing today is going to be a tremendous help. I think this is really, really going in a good direction to help the select board and everybody. So thanks all of you. Then I have a question, which is in the beginning of the meeting, I missed the beginning, but when you're going to be putting forth some bylaw changes this year, are some of those specific things that relate to this list here? Because I kind of agree, I really agree with Kelly's suggestion that having a time frame column or notes, as Liz put it, and maybe if you want to be really helpful and ambitious, put like a who column. Is it Gov HR? Is it select board and personnel board together? Is it Amy or whoever? And now you have a complete action plan. You have who, what, where, when, why, you have the whole plan done. I don't know if you can finish all that, but if you came in with that, then I think, the select board might have comments, but, we're all ready to go. This is what we're doing this year for this bylaw change right now. This is what we're doing high priority in the next 6 months, and here's who's doing it. So it's really ambitious, and if you can't get that far, at least what you've done so far is fantastic.
Well, thank you for your encouraging, Mark. My sense is we should let Liz and myself sort this out. I mean, we're all essentially on the same page. We're really talking about what the form or format. We're not talking about substance. We're talking about form or format, and let Liz and I discuss, and we'll come up with a recommendation. Is that okay with everybody? Okay.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Okay.
It makes
So
sense.
I'm going to assume that's correct. I don't think we have anything else unless I'm missing something, except when we look ahead, Amy, to the next personnel board meeting. You had said it looked pretty full, especially if we're going to tackle the appeal as well. So I don't want to overcommit that we're here, but I don't want to undercommit either. So I think maybe what are the items, Amy, that you had identified as a possibility for the next personnel board meeting?
Yeah. So as you said, the appeal, that's clearly priority. You had all identified what remaining questions you have, so it would be providing you with that information and giving you the opportunity to deliberate there. Joellen Catamatori will be in town working very closely with management next week, trying to draft up some recommendations based on their interviews and data gathering. And so she's available to attend your meeting. We thought perhaps it's just at least a brief window, maybe 15 minutes or whatever you needed to just talk about the process and the next steps and the board's involvement, because there's a lot to do during the month of December to determine what will be printed in the warrant. So topics, class and comp, identifying how we're going to get to the warrant and then afterwards. And then the personnel bylaw. So, Kelly has been going through in great detail, and I'm trying to keep up with her too in going through the task force report. We've been working together to go through, look at their chart of what they recommended for personnel bylaw changes, see what we think might be ones that could be or we'd recommend be addressed this year, and trying to get those ready. And there are also comments from employees that management has gathered that may not be in there. And so we've been putting together those and wanted to have a list and drafts of things for you to consider in terms of bylaw warrant articles. As you said, not a comprehensive thing. This isn't the thing to restructure it, but to make tweaks that might be helpful for the next year.
And just for my, or for our benefit, are we talking rough, how would we quantify that? Less than 10, 10 to 20? What's,
Let me
I
look
just
at
wanted to
the-
get a sense of volume.
Kelly, do you happen to know? I'm trying to think where we're at with that.
No
Was it-
more than 20. It depends how you categorize them.
Okay, so if it's a word change,
Including-
if it's a word change, is that one of the 20? Or is that,
Yes, yes, there were 9 that were identified from the task force report
okay,
that seemed like easy wins. So
Okay.
of those 9, that involves 7 or 5 different sections of the bylaw. So
Okay.
depending on how you count it, I would say the total list wouldn't exceed 20. So
Okay.
I would say probably between 10, I'm guessing maybe 10 will come out of that list.
okay. Right, that's helpful. So, so does that, any other questions from anyone regarding our next personnel board meeting and what is going to be on the agenda? Okay.
I-
And,
And actually, there was one more item that we would just
Okay.
have to figure out where in December, and it's the miscellaneous compensation schedule, which normally we don't spend a great deal of time on. But it would be, the minimum wage is changing on January 1. We've been going through the schedule and would recommend some updates related to that. So,
okay, all right. And I don't know, in terms of our next member on the personnel board, that he hasn't been nominated yet, correct? That didn't happen at the last select board, which means that he can't be confirmed until the second select board meeting. Am I correct?
Yes,
Okay. Okay. All right, well, I think we're set. Any other questions?
Well, just to follow up, oh, sorry, I disappeared. I'm
fine.
typing. The follow-up is for Terry, I guess. Is there a chance that he can be nominated at Monday, the 28th? Because then potentially he could be on for the select board presentation and so forth. I can't remember even if it's male or female. But Terry, what do you think? Is he on the slate, on the agenda to be approved? It
right.
shouldn't
So,
take that long.
so I can't remember who this person is either, but yes, they're on to be nominated on the 28th, which means they'll be confirmed on the next meeting, which is the 5th.
Okay, it's Joe Emmerich is his
Okay,
name.
Joe. So thank you, Joe, for joining. And yes, so Joe could certainly attend the meeting on the 5th if he wants. He can attend your meeting next week. He just can't vote until he's sworn in, which will be after the 5th.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Okay, unless there's any, I don't know if we have any public comments. This is a time for it. I don't know if we even have any public. I haven't been keeping track, so this is the time for any public comments if anyone wants to raise their hand.
it's only staff other than the board, and select board.
Sort of a disappointment, you know, we had a great matinee last time, and this time, I guess the word got out that we're not as much fun as I thought we were. Okay, so I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Okay, thank you. And a second.
Second, Nancy.
All right, thanks, Nancy. Kate was the one who made the motion and Nancy second. So all in favor of, again,
Aye.
Nancy, yes, and Liz, shaking her
Aye.
head, yes, and Kate,
Aye.
and Bill, yes, okay. And I will be in touch through email or message with Liz, and she and I will work out a time.
Great,
Okay,
and
Okay.
just the last thing is, Amy, you'll need to send us a non-PDF version so that we can, you know, I didn't have that last time and I had to retype everything. I don't want to do that again.
I'll be doing it just very shortly.
All right,
Okay,
so-
thanks so much,
So
everybody.
actually,
So
when will this document be ready? If it can be ready the Thursday before the select board meeting for our packets, that would be December 2nd. Can it be ready by then?
Yes,
Oh, that'll be our goals for sure.
I mean, December 1st. Sorry.
Okay. Liz and I will, that's our goal.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, everybody. This was really
All right.
nice of you to be able to
Great.
take time out of your
Right.
noon time, and I appreciate that. Thank you, Terry, for your lending your support and your voice. It's always great
Lots of progress. Great
to have the
job.
select
Right,
board.
right.
Okay, thanks, everybody.
Yeah,
Happy
have a wonderful
Thanksgiving,
everyone.
Thanksgiving, everybody.
Bye.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right.
great thing.